How's it going, everybody? This podcast is brought to you by Rise Make Life Workout, a health, self-development, and lifestyle platform building a passionate community of knowledge seekers, creative dreamers, and future leaders.
For details on the latest Rise event that will feature expert speakers in the field of self-development and growth, check out www.rise-workout.com. That's
www.rise-workout.com. Enjoy the show. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the High Frequency Club podcast. My name is Marwin Salario.
And I'm Shanae Bierman. We're here talking all things self-development, growth, and mindset.
In this week's episode, we sit down with group fitness manager and instructor, personal trainer, someone who's got 25 years of experience in the health and fitness industry, Kris Madsen. What I really enjoyed and really resonated with was when she shared her process on what it is to be a personal trainer, the actual depths of it, that it's so much more than just teaching people how to exercise. It's also about building that relationship with movement, their relationship with themselves, and building that broad perspective on being able to really consider all the other things in life, like their stress and their relationships with other people and their work. I think all of that is super important and not something that's always looked at when you're first hiring a personal trainer. You just initially think, I'm here to get a program.
And I love talking about the power of community and personality in the group fitness space, and how so often as instructors we forget how much our classes mean to others and what they might be going through, and how just that workout and maybe what we've said or the music can just completely change someone's perspective on their day.
Yeah, she shares a beautiful story on what's helped her refresh her group fitness teaching, right? And I think that's something, whether you're an instructor or whether you are in a role where you are of service of other people, she shares a story where you just see a different type of perspective where, yeah, it's just for the other person and they are going through things that we might not always see.
So listen in, let us know what you think, and make sure you're following along at the High Frequency Club.
Enjoy the episode. Thanks for having us on your beautiful home.
You're welcome.
Just moved in recently, eh?
Yeah, so we've been here 3 months as of last week, actually.
Yeah.
We love it. Yeah. So we've gone from a beautiful old home, which was really lovely, but it was quite cold, and to a brand new home. So it's been amazing. The girls love it. So yeah,
brand new homes and so nice.
Yeah.
The dangerous part of it is sets a standard.
Yeah,
you can never go back.
Just so now it's just like you become quite fussy. Like you just literally like, and if anything's out of place, you're like, oh my gosh, we need a vacuum clean or clean or whatever. And baby is like an obsessed cleaner. Like she loves cleaning. Yeah.
Awesome.
She even has a cleaning basket, like for real. She has like her own little cleaning products.
Oh wow.
That's
Yeah, you're so right.
Not from me.
Because like I'm in charge of the vacuuming at home, and you feel like if you've missed the week, you can see it.
Tell them what you're in charge of.
I'll be able to say, I don't think we can cut that.
No, that's good. It's an authentic chat. That's Bevan in the back there. But anyway, to you, for people who don't know you, Kris, how would you describe yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
Okay, so I'm Kris. I'm 50 years old, 50. And I'm the group fitness manager at Les Mills Hut City. I'm a personal trainer there, and I've been teaching group fitness for about 25 years. And the reason I got into it is actually because of Bev. So he hates the story, but the reality is that many years ago in a little gym in Whakatane, I went along to the gym because my coach at the time, I was cycling, and he said, oh, you should do this, as cross training for the winter, build some strength and get a good base. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then anyway, so I went along, did a couple of classes, and I was just like addicted. Body Pump was the first program. I just fell in love with it. And then there was a girl there that amazing. She was so strong, and I was like, I want to be like her when I grow up. Like she was just so strong and powerful, and I was just hooked.
Okay, first, group fitness or personal training?
Group fitness.
I see. And then how long until you got into the PT part?
It wasn't until probably, I think it was about 33, so it was a little bit later. So I had worked in the bank for about 13 years. So I left school at 18, was going to go nursing, and I was actually accepted to go nursing. And then I had an opportunity to work in the bank, and I worked there for 13 years because it was really good in terms of development, learned so much. And then I kind of went to Coca-Cola as a sales rep for a little while, and I was pregnant with Savannah, our first girl. And then after that, I was like, oh, what do I want to do? So I didn't want to go back to full-time, and luckily I didn't have to. I was really, lucky that I didn't have to go back to work immediately. And then the opportunity to get into group fitness and stuff was there, and I kind of just fell into a GFM role. That was really, really smaller club like City Fitness, but it was a really great learning sort of ground. Yeah.
Was it like a licensee club?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah. So it was only like 10 hours a week. And it was like doing rosters and wages and the basic stuff, timetabling. And you know how it is in a smaller club. You don't get the same support and money as you would perhaps in Les Mills.
Right.
So it's completely different. Yeah.
You always hear of those stories of people who work in like corporate, and then they find their passion, and then they're just like, oh, I'm going to go all in on health and fitness. A PT or a group fitness instructor or whatever.
Yeah.
Was that the same for you? Was being in the corporate world something that was like exhausted for you, and you're like, don't want to go back to that? This is why I'm going to go to PT. Was it like a following your passion kind of?
Yeah,
path?
I think it was just one of those things, like, how you sort of fall into it and the opportunity was there. And because I loved it, I was like, wow, I get to do play in a playground all day and actually do something that I love. How freaking cool is that? So that's really where that kind of, I guess, landed.
Yeah.
And I feel super grateful that I've been able to do it for so long, because it is, like, essentially I feel like you rock along to work, you get to teach, you get to personal train, you get to go and train on the floor and chat to the members, and it's such a great environment. Like it's, I don't know, like it's not just a gym, like it's the people, like for lockdown, I missed the gym for the convenience of the equipment, but it was the people, the interactions, the banter you have with the person that comes to your sprint class or whatever, and all that sort of stuff. That was probably the big thing.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's so powerful. You'll even have members or clients who will go out of their way just to go to the gym that isn't, in their way of work or anything like that, just because of the people.
Yeah, totally.
They'll stick to lifelong habits because it's the people that are there and it feels fun for them there.
Exactly.
Yeah. What similarities do you think are there? What differences are there for you as a group fitness coach and a personal trainer, apart from the obvious ones of the, what do you call it?
Teaching to a group versus one-on-one. Yeah.
I think it's, it's that one-to-one conversation where you see real self-development, and it's more about self-confidence. And you'd know this as well, is they might start their journey with you and they might be quite anxious about coming to the gym and starting a program. Just walking through the door, I've had some of my clients who were really anxious. They didn't want to even step through the door because they didn't meet the so-called, poster, look like that. And I think it was just that reassurance, knowing that actually none of us look like that. In fact, we're actually very real. We all will, there's days when we, eat a salad, and there's days when we eat a pie or whatever, it's called real life. But this is about health and well-being. So it's about giving them permission to know that it's okay to be human, to be real, and that we're not one size, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's really important. And I think there's something quite fulfilling when somebody comes to you and you can see their confidence, and their growth in terms of how they come into the gym, and perhaps they're wearing, I don't know, something like a different top, it's more fitting. And so you go, oh, I can see this now,
The confidence coming through. And
that sort of stuff it's really small, but you do notice it. And you're like, yes, this is a win. Or they start booking classes by themselves and turning up without you saying, oh, you could try blah, blah, blah. And then they're already doing that, and they're sort of like addicted to going to all these classes. And
I love that. I love that because I think when people first initially think of a personal trainer, what they think they're getting out of it is that body composition change.
Yes.
And then a good personal trainer like yourself is able to point out all those small wins, but are actually really big wins relative to them, and I think that's super, super important.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're right, a whole big part of it is the self-confidence.
I think that's the longevity as well, isn't it? Like, initially when for a lot of people coming to the gym, it is a number on the scale, or maybe, something along those lines. But I think once they realise that actually the benefits of everything else in terms of how they feel, their energy levels, their sleep patterns, their confidence, their self-belief, their resilience as well, you know, turning up when they're feeling stressed at work or whatever it might be, I think it's just important to recognise that there's so much more.
Yeah, and like it's almost no fault of their own either, because that's what the marketing shows, right? That, oh, what is the metric of success if I'm going to pay premium dollar for this one-on-one coaching? What should I expect? And they go towards what has always been marketed to them, which is shape or number.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And body image.
Yeah.
How do you change people's mindset around that? You know, if they come to you and say, hey, I want to lose X kgs in 10 weeks, you know, and we know, like, that is completely out of our control, you know?
Yeah, to be fair, it's funny you say that, because that's probably one of the big things that I don't focus on, and my clients don't. They might have some goals around where they want to be, but I never use the scales. I focus on, let's be stronger. And with strength becomes, you know, this will mean that your body composition will change. So we talk about strength, we talk about the benefits of that in terms of your body composition changing, but not necessarily the weight factor. So I really focus on those things. Not so much, a number, because if we get fixated on that, we know how that can feel. Like, you know how it changes throughout the day. You know, you might weigh yourself in the morning. I've done it myself, you know, for many years, where I used to do my body fat like in the morning, and then I'll do later on, because I'm so obsessed with, oh my gosh, that means, you know, blah, 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 so I need to go and exercise, or so, you know, it becomes unhealthy to fixate on it. I tend not to talk about the numbers stuff. Definitely talk from more of a strength aspect.
So if someone comes to you with like body composition goals, do you say, no, you're more of a strength coach, or?
No, I'm really honest. I think it's because I know how that feels, because I did it for so long, and I also, to be fair, I actually saw my mum do it for years, and I owe my love of exercise to her, because she did it for years. But then I also saw the downside of it in terms of the obsession as well, to a point where she actually got really, really skinny. And if we look back at photos, it's like, whoa. And she even says that she was just so obsessed with exercise and eating, and the next fad, there was always something. So yeah, for me, it's definitely about, I guess, empowering them and educating them. You know, what, based on their stresses in terms of their work and their life balance, you know, what is realistic for them? Like, actually, like we can have a goal, and that's absolutely fine, but realistically, you know, how much time can they commit to it? What are they prepared to give up to get to that? And having those real conversations so that you know.
I think that's something that a lot of people also miss, is how can this new habit fit in my current lifestyle and my circumstances, you know? Like, so a lot of people, they're working, you know, 5 days a week, and what they think health and fitness is, they have to be at the gym every single day from 0 to 100, and they're like, oh, it's too hard, too big, why bother? Or they go into this like perpetual cycle of just like, on it for a month, off it for 3. They forget.
Versus just aiming like at a sort of achievable level, like, okay, I'm going to aim for 3 sessions a week. I think I can, you know, what's the likelihood of you being able to get 3 sessions a week? Like, that's doable, versus I'm going to be here every day, and I'm going to start this diet.
In the context of like your life, you know?
Absolutely.
Having to compare yourself, because Sally goes 5 times a week because she can fit it in her life. She probably has a job where she's able to do that.
Absolutely. And for example, say if they've got family commitments, they've got like kids sports, you know, if their work is shift work, like factoring in like sleep and recovery. So there's so many things that actually need to be factored in. And
I think just by going through the process of just doing one thing at a time, you start asking yourself more questions on, you know, I found that I did a PB of 60 kg deadlift. Now, what can I do outside of it that'll help me get to 65, to 70? And all these other things start to fall into place, rather than going all in, you know, right from the get-go. And I think that's, for me as a PT, sometimes it's a hard thing to articulate at the start.
So
they're like, okay, I want to see you 3 times, and what should I do for nutrition? What should I do for sleep? What should I do for supplements? You're like, hold your whole Let's just focus on like coming in 2 times. You know?
But
they're so
They
motivated.
want everything right up front.
Yeah, they want to know what they're in for, and they're so motivated, and you know that now they've taken the first step of actually talking to someone about it. Now you're telling them slow down, you know. And I think for me it's a give or take. Like I got to read the space, because like sometimes you're like, okay, let's do it, and then they fail. Yeah. And you were like, well, it's very likely going to fail, but you don't tell them that, but you have to let them experience
100%.
that,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise you're going to. If I was going to tell him, Bevan, you're going to fail, I'm like, why am I here then?
Yeah, totally.
Why am I going to waste my money here? But
yeah,
it's
you have to learn from it.
Yeah. It's a bit of give or take, but then there are some people that might not recover from that failure. Yeah. You know? How do you manage that, you know, initial consultation phase if someone's going gun-ho and, you know...
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually.
Because it's different for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's different for everyone.
I think it's as long as you've built a really good rapport, and it comes down to a lot of trust. So, you know, that first initial consult is so important in terms of building that relationship, but building a trust and really digging deep as to what it is, you know, that their goals are. It's not just, you know, how sometimes people say, oh yeah, it's weight loss or it's this, but we know that there's a lot more going on. You know, it's a lot deeper under the surface, so it's really kind of finding that out, and that usually takes a bit of time, to be fair. I kind of feel like you have to spend at least a few sessions with them, and quite often it's even the chats away from the PT session where you might be just saying, hey, look, I just wanted to check in, how are you doing, blah, 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 how's your week going? And then finding out that there's, you know, lots of other stresses going on in their life, or maybe roadblocks preventing them from getting to the gym, and then kind of having some empathy and trying to find a way to work through that, if that makes sense.
It does make sense fully. I think, like what you said, it takes time to get into that type of space, but it also takes the type of person to get to there. That's why personal is before training when it comes to personal training, right?
The training, I feel like, is even a byproduct of what we do. Like, I actually feel it's more about being a psychiatrist or psychologist or, you know, any of those things combined together, because a lot of the things you're dealing with are actually not even about exercise. It's quite often about their upbringing around exercise, or maybe food, or
their beliefs around those things.
Yeah, totally. People's perception about what they should or shouldn't be doing. You know, because I'm a female, I should be doing this and I should look like that. And if I don't, then blah, blah, blah.
I think something that was not completely, but definitely overlooked and underrated when I did my PT course was communication skills. We did a whole lot on like exercise anatomy and physiology, but when it came to what actually really mattered and the type of tools that we were going to use on pretty much every moment of a personal training session was the ability to communicate.
100%.
Is that a skill that you have had to foster yourself? Was that something more innate with you that you've always had? Or what have you done to help you with your communication skills?
I think the big key thing has probably been group fitness. That's been the key thing for helping me. So when I grew up, I was really shy. So it's quite a contrast from what I do now, of course. So people go, really? And I'm like, yes, really. So when I was younger, I was actually the shy kid. So basically my family used to move every year. So I'd go from school to school. So I never had a, I guess, set family friend group. And I found that really hard. So when you're shy and you automatically, you know, tend to sort of, I don't know, just kind of turn into a bit of a shell, and you don't really naturally reach out to people because you feel a fear of what happens if they reject me, or, you know, they've got their own friend group. How am I going to fit into theirs? So that was actually quite challenging. And when I went to group fitness, funnily enough, one of the key challenges for me was to learn to overcome that fear of talking in a group setting. And I can even remember to this day, the first time that I had to actually jump in with Bev, and he was like, right, here's the mic, here's the music, boom, had it on, didn't say a thing, could not say a thing. And I was just like petrified. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is way harder than I thought. And it was overcoming that fear and realizing my passion for helping people outweighed my fear, if that makes sense. Yeah. So don't get me wrong, I still actually don't like to do public speaking. I love group fitness, but public speaking is kind of different. You know, if you're in that environment, I'd be like, oh, no thanks.
What do you think is the difference? Is it because, like,
I don't know.
when it comes to the group fitness, you're very well prepared, you've had your choreography. Is it preparation that's the difference? Because what if you were going into a stage where you're going to publicly speak, but you knew exactly what you were going to talk about, you knew your lines just in the same way that you knew your choreography. Is that the difference?
I don't know. It definitely comes down to that whole imposter syndrome, which is that fear of failure and not meeting up to the standard. So I look at presenters that I really admire, like Mid Thomas, the Ishas of the world, the Sacha Coburn, Emma Barry, people like that. So people that I really look up to in terms of their speaking and how they present and how they engage people. And I think I immediately go, oh, I'm not that good. I'm not as good as that. So I probably shouldn't be in that position. And even to this day, there are certain opportunities where even Mid has said to me, Kris Madsen, you're good enough for this, and actually blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I have to keep on saying that, don't I? Blah, blah, blah. What is that? Oh my gosh. Who knows? And she has always said that to me, and she has always believed in me. And there's a couple of key people, and there was Dane was actually my first GFM, and Caroline Jenkins. They were the two people initially that really believed in me, instilled, I guess, more confidence that I could do things, which I didn't believe I could. Like to do a workshop, or that to me was a lifelong dream. I was like, no, I would never get to do that. But because they believed in me and they challenged me in that space, and I was given those opportunities, I was just like overwhelmed, if that makes sense. Yeah, I never expected it, and even to this day, I never would expect that.
I would come listen to whatever you'd have to talk about in any type of public.
Oh, you're far too nice.
Definitely.
I think, like you said, with the imposter syndrome as well, because you're naturally comparing to someone else who you do think like, oh, they're way more experienced or way more skilled. But I think we always forget that, but they're them and you're you, that there still might be people that engage with you more because you're just Kris, or that they might find you more relatable than they do another speaker. But I think, like you said, we're so quick to always just compare to others that might have been doing it longer or whatnot, and think, oh no, I'm not like that. But people still might engage more with me or you.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we were out shopping before this, and the chick who was serving us was like, oh, what are you guys doing here? And I was like,
don't want to get into this.
Talking to
I don't want to talk about. I don't want to say that I had imposter syndrome myself. I don't want to talk about a podcast. You'll ask who like, what's a podcast, and you've probably never heard of it. And how do I mean to know that?
Yeah,
she may have.
Yeah,
I just didn't want to open up to it because I was like, I don't want to be seen like a fraud. Like, I'm who's this guy going around here with a podcast? And I felt that uncomfortableness, and I was like, after that interaction, I was like, I should have just owned up to the fact that I'm doing a podcast and I have to explain myself. But in the same way of what you were just talking about, I was like, whether it's your first time or 100th time, you're publicly speaking, and I think we have to give ourselves enough credit for even just taking that action objectively without the meaning around it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I think what you were saying before, just touching base about you saying, you were shy at first, I think that relates to, a lot of instructors as well, and there is always that common feedback, and we were talking about this with Bas, where people give new instructors feedback like, you just have to find your authenticity, you just have to be yourself.
Sounds so easy.
And like, it's so vague that like what does that even mean?
Totally.
What does that even mean? So,
and when you're 20 seconds old, what does that mean? But you're still finding out who you are. Actually.
Right. Yeah, you're right, because the instructors are getting younger and younger, right? Too, as well.
Maybe we're just getting older. I don't know. Maybe. True.
So what would your advice be? What does finding your authenticity mean to you? And what is that process like if you were to give that type of advice to instructors? Or would you word it differently? I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, we do say that a lot when we're giving feedback, especially when, say, somebody's really new to teaching and they're saying the same thing as, the masterclass, which is actually really normal, right? And we even say, hey, look, it's okay when you're first starting out. It's okay if you, take some of those cues. That at the end of the day, that's learning. So we get to do that. And obviously, the longer you teach, the more you want to start to bring your own cues or your own, personality to the class. So that's something that just takes time. It's not a 6-month 6-month stint, or it's just time. Like, it's, some of the guys can get there quicker than others, depending on how confident they feel. And some of them, it just takes a little bit more time. Or maybe teaming them with the right person as well to bring that out in them. So quite often what we've done is, if we've got baby instructors, so for example, if their gap is, say, performance or connection, I'll put them with somebody that actually is such a great connector and they're really charismatic, so that they can actually learn how to do that authentically with that person next to them. So they can hopefully learn those skills and go, Terry does that really well, or, Mid's vocal quality. We all know that Mid's really loud, so, it's like vocal projection or anything like that. So depending on what the area is, will depend on who I might team them with to give them some, I guess, confidence to be able to experiment and then eventually play and then find them their authentic self. But it's a long road for that. It's not I feel like I've been teaching forever before I even found that.
And it's even tougher to experiment, especially if you're a new instructor. Sometimes it's not even your class. You just want to be like, oh shit, I've got to perform, I'm coming to someone's class.
You feel
and then
pressure,
you've got that complex of like, oh man, this is meant to be, Kris's class, and I'm here covering it.
I feel like that when I cover some of the guys' classes, like you feel that pressure of like, oh my gosh, I'm covering this person's class, I'm not that funny, they do jokes here, but I don't really do jokes, or whatever it might be. So, and I think it's being okay and knowing that each person brings something unique. And that's okay, because that's why people go to your class. So what you bring is unique. It's the same for you as well, you know, and it could be more about the energy that you bring, what's the, the motivational cues or the banter or the, who knows? It could be the music that you choose, because they go, oh, actually, they just get it. Like, I connect with that music that they always seem to pick. You know how you do? Like, I have a certain style of music, for example, in Body Pump. So I'm sure that everybody that comes to my class goes, oh, here we go. Yep, Kris is doing her usual. Recycling these ones again. Because we all have our favourite songs. And then if I go to, say, Ben's class, he will be completely different. And that's 100% okay. So, it is interesting.
For a while, I got some of my favourite tunes are my, old releases, which were my Australian covered music.
My gosh.
And so sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a covered version, but I love this song and I'm going to do it anyway. And there are people that are like, cover music. And so I got the rappers being the cover girl for a while. But I was like,
I think that's okay. I think you should own it. Definitely. Oh my God.
And I think, like you said, when you're starting out, there is so much to be focused on. Like, you are focusing on learning your choreo and learning your process for how learning choreo works for you, and connect with the music and your technique and all those things. I think there's so much to be focusing on, and then if you've got someone saying, oh, just be yourself, more personality, when you're still focused on all those sort of earlier elements 100%. And getting it right, it's going to be very hard to do that. But I think once someone has kind of nailed all those things, that's when it's like, come on, now you've got to kind of just start to experiment. And I remember Kylie Gates used an analogy of juggling. Like, she said, one ball, easy. Two balls, easy. Third ball, you're likely going to drop one ball. So when you are going to try something new, you might stuff up your choreo, or you might say something wrong or do something wrong, but you've got to do that in order to try new things. And
100%.
I think it's that skill of letting go, as in, if you've got the choreography down packed, and it's that skill of letting go of cool, I know it now, time to experiment. And when shit goes wrong or things go bad, to let that go as well. To
absolutely.
dwell on that, and then make that as part of your identity, or something that defines your teaching because of just, one moment.
It's giving yourself permission to colour outside the lines. Right? Because it's really, when you think about it, the coaching model is so good. We literally, especially now, everything is laid out so clearly. When I learnt, it was 4 times 8, or if you're lucky, little scribbly notes. That's when we had tapes and videos. So that was well before you guys' time. But and we literally had to rely on our personality to bring the class to life. So we didn't have the flashy lights, we didn't have a cool stage. We had a lapel mic, so you'd be like, hey guys, talking into it like that, sort of the neck thing going on. So it was completely different. And I think we even talk about this today, is that we're really spoilt. So when we come into a beautiful Les Mills club, we have everything, literally. So but people need more than just the flashy lights and the pretty, I guess the pretty gear on. They want personality, they want fun, they want entertainment to a certain degree, but they also want to escape from their life for a little bit, the pressures of, the last 2 years.
Yeah, I've recently just started, for me, to keep things fresh in my classes. My group fitness manager, Reese Finlayson, he was like, well, maybe just actually ask them what they need today.
Totally.
And I was like, holy shit, like actually...
That seems so obvious.
At first I was like, oh, Reese, things are getting stale for me, I just feel like I'm just recycling the same things over and over again. I was like, I want to give them what they want and also feel that fire inside of me. I just don't know what to do, like what to put my intentions towards. And he goes, ask them. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, actually ask them. Ask them what they need today. And I was like, oh shit. So obvious, right?
Yeah.
And it's just started asking them. And then you're right, a lot of people, when I asked that question, was just like, man, especially my 12-10 class, they're like, I just want to forget out the morning.
Yeah.
I just want, this is just my break, my 30 minutes of break. And then being able to then center my class around, all right, we're here to, take 30 minutes.
Yeah,
off, this is all
totally.
for you. Now all of a sudden I'm saying new shit that I've never said before.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually being more intentional with it. How do you keep your stuff fresh? Because you've been doing it for so long now.
Oh my gosh. It's funny you say that because this week, on the Tuesday I taught Pump in the morning. And I've been feeling quite stale for Pump. The other program's okay, but I think it's like anything, you go like this.
Ends and weeds, right?
Yeah. And I was just like, man, maybe I shouldn't be teaching this. Like I just didn't feel I was giving them enough. I'm trying, but there just seems to be nothing back. And I was like, actually, it's not up to them to give me anything back. It's my job to give them an experience. And actually, I had to really rethink, and I was like, okay, what am I doing with my music? Am I preparing enough, like in advance, or am I just winging it and not feeling connected? Because sometimes I know for me, if I haven't listened to my music, if I haven't prepared, I will go in and I'll feel quite disconnected. So the key for me is I've got to listen to my music and I need to know it inside out. And if I do, then I've got moments where I can actually look out. And I don't know, you can feel the energy in the room. So even though it's been, I think it's like the last 2 years, let's be honest, it's been full on for people. And so there's a heaviness and a tiredness and a fatigue, and you feel it and you're trying your best to give them so much. And you're like, but I'm not getting anything back. So it's like, is this working? Or, and then somebody will come up after a class and they'll be like, man, that was the best class ever. And you're thinking, but you guys didn't give me anything. Like, I thought you hated it. But you don't know. And we don't know what we're going through. And I mean, a perfect example is basically an hour or two after that, I taught sprint. And before I taught, there was a lovely older lady who came in. I'm probably going to get emotional. And she said, Kris, if I go early, please know that's not because of you. And I said, oh, no, of course, that's no problem. And she said, my son has just passed away this morning. And I literally didn't know what to say. And I said, sorry, Mary, what did you say? And she said, my son just passed away. And she literally fell into my arms. And I realized at that moment that we have such an amazing opportunity to impact on people. It's an incredible privilege. And I was just like, wow, this person is here. We just don't know what people are going through. And we just have such an incredible ability to change their day through something we say or maybe do, or, I don't know, a piece of music that they might connect with that might just change their whole outlook. And it was just a really good reminder for me of like, oh my gosh, get your head out of your, it's not about you, it's about the people in front of you. Stop over-analysing and be present. So it was a little wake-up call actually, because I think we all go through those phases. And that sort of stuff, it just really hit me, and I shared it with my team, my cycle team. And I said, hey guys, just so you know, this member might come into your class. Just a little heads up so we can be super mindful. At the moment. And it's just in genuine, like in general, there's so many people going through things. We really don't know, what they're coping with. And we might be the difference between how they leave that room, you know. They might leave the room feeling amazing just because of that 45 minutes with us, and give them more clarity or more perspective or more resilience to go, yeah, you know what, I've got this, whatever it is that they're going through. Yeah.
Did you become oh no, you were GFM for a while. Have you always been a GFM whilst you're group fitnessing and personal training?
No, I was just a GFI for ages when I was at City Fitness.
Yeah.
So that was about 10 years, and I did it for a year, just for a short amount of time. And then I had my baby, and then I ended up at Les Mills Hutt City, and we moved over this way. And yeah, I've been GFM here for 15 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a long time.
What similarities do you find you use when it comes to, you know, being the leader for your clients and also being the leader for your instructor team?
I think it's knowing that they know that I'm with them, like I work alongside them. So I'm not the type of person that will necessarily lead from the front. It's more from the side or behind to push my guys forward, if that makes sense. Yeah, because for me, my glory days, not really glory days, but I think of myself now, you know, I am 50. So, you know, my time in terms of, you know, that top end stuff is not there. Like, I celebrate my guys, so it's not about me, it's about my team. And so I feel the same for my clients. It's about celebrating their efforts. Yeah, and when you share those things, people love that. Like, members love seeing other members being successful, just like they, you know, when they see, you know, as a PT, when you share a client's story or them doing something and somebody else will comment and go, oh my gosh, they're so strong, blah, blah, blah. You know, it looks so cool, I'm so proud of them. And then I share that with them and they're like, oh, really? They're always like surprised. And it's just like, your story is bigger than you realise. You know, the inspiration isn't actually us as instructors, it's you, the member.
Yeah.
They're the inspiration. Yeah.
You say your glory days are over, Kris, but
Oh, it's not really glory days.
When we see your Instagram,
Yeah,
and we
my
see
God.
you doing those amazing feats of strength.
Pull-ups off your garage during lockdown.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
no stopping you.
I was
There's
just
no stopping
like,
you.
this
Stuck-
woman is just,
stuck to the process, and
Otherwise desperate.
yeah, you're obviously incredibly strong. If you haven't checked her out, make sure you. Kris Madsen on
yeah.
Instagram. Amazing feats of strength. Have you always been hard into strength training, or was that something that you had to teach yourself into? Because I know sometimes from an outside view, when it comes to training, a lot of females think that it's strength training, a lot of females think they're going to make them bulky and blah, 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 and all those false ideas, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever fit in that box and then you got into it and then that changed your mind, or?
I kind of fell into it actually. So when I did group fitness and I first started at Sunny Gyms in Whakatane, I was 26, and at the time I was asked to do a bodybuilding competition. And I'd been doing pump. So for 6 months I'd been doing pump, and I was really excited to see the change in my body, because I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I look like I've got some muscles going on rather than just, you know, quads, because I was a cyclist. So and it was kind of exciting to see that transformation. I was kind of thinking, okay, well, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I trained for 6 months to do some bodybuilding. Definitely challenging. I love the training. The eating was the hard bit, because I love food. So anybody who knows me knows I love food. So that was the hardest part, is the discipline around that. But it taught me a lot as well in terms of how much your body can transform if you manipulate certain things around your training and your eating. So that was pretty cool. But I kind of fell in love with strength training then, to be fair. Not because of the aesthetics, because once you come out of, you know, dieting down, you know, you go back to normal, of course, you know, unless you're really, really strict. But I did fall in love with the process of strength in terms of your performance. That's what it really was for me, and how it could benefit my teaching. Yeah, that was probably the big thing. I was like, well, if I can be stronger, I can be more resilient, I can lift more weights for body pump, or, you know, for grit. And for me nowadays, it's really just about keeping up with the young ones. Like, actually, like I do. I literally train to keep up with the young ones and keep fit for my girls. Not that they run or anything, or, you know, anything crazy, but I like to be fit and strong, and just because, like, I think it's important. You know, because we need to be able to sit down and pick things up and without pain. Like, whether we like it or not, that happens a lot. You know, people get to 60 and suddenly their life is over. I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
so.
you know, I want to be doing deadlifts and I still want to be doing pull-ups. And you know, when you see people who are even younger than me sometimes and they're not perhaps strength training or doing anything, and you see people who are, like, their bodies look completely different, but it's more about the aging process. Yeah. So they can look older than they actually are. Versus somebody who's actually constantly, you know, looking after themselves or giving themselves that time to strength train. And that's really important to me. And also to empower women. That's probably my big thing.
Yeah.
So they fall in love with that process.
Yeah.
Would you say you're somewhat equally internally then and externally driven? Like you said, obviously you want to do it sort of for your family and keep up with the young ones, but also for yourself, so
100%.
bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the one thing that got me through lockdown was that continuity of knowing that, okay, on these days I'm going to do strength training with a little bit of equipment that we had at home, and just committing to doing what we could during that time. And it made you feel like there was hope. Because, you know, that first 6-week lockdown, that was tough, right? Because nobody knew. And then, of course, with every other lockdown, and you guys have been through so much more. But I think you just became a bit more like, okay, well, yes, I prefer the environment of the gym because the music and the energy and the people, but I knew that I could do it by myself. I was like, I'm strong enough to be able to do this. I can just put on some grip music or some sprint music, I'm happy, and do my workout. Yeah.
Just going back to, you know, you and I'm sure both of us as well, we fell in love with the gym because of the music, of the community, and sometimes for a lot of people, sometimes too much is not good.
Yeah.
You know, and we see that often, especially because we're just in an environment where it's fun as.
Oh my gosh.
You start,
100%.
your friends are there, your social life is no longer partying. It's like going to
It's a gym. Gym is your social life.
and then that is amazing, you know, because it's really turned people's lives around. Right?
Yeah.
But sometimes too much of a good thing is no longer a good thing. How do you approach those types of situations and those types of conversations with people? Because I know there may be a lot of people listening right now who, you know, work out to exhaust themselves, who work out to burn out on top of all those other life things that we've talked about.
Yeah, totally.
But they struggle to pull back now. you
Yeah.
know, because what they've done for the last however long time has got them to this happy place. But this happy place is now taking happiness away because they're always so tired.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So it's the thing that was so positive is now becoming a negative because it's too much. How do you approach those types of conversations with people, and how do you manage that with them?
Yeah, it's a really good one because I feel like I have to work on that a lot myself because we do love it. And I think that's the thing, is when you're invested in something, you give everything to it. So you give so much energy and so much time because you do love it. And then, of course, the trade-off is you get burnt out. And then suddenly you feel resentful because you're running on empty, and then you feel like you can't give enough to your class, your clients, your partner, your family. So, yeah, it kind of becomes a situation where, because a lot of people will say, oh, do you actually have rest days? Like, do you train every day? And I'm like, oh, no, I definitely have rest days. So religiously, it's like a Thursday and a Sunday. And they're like, really? But you look like you train all the time. And I'm like, I promise you I don't. Like, purely because you need to balance that out. Like, you just can't do it. Like, your body can't do it. Mentally and emotionally, you need a time to check out. Whether it's going for a coffee, whether it's going for brunch, or for me, I love to lie on the couch, have a nap, watch Netflix, have a binge watch, or just chill with the girls, and Bev and do family stuff. Like, let's just go out for dinner. Like, or go and have a massage, But to broach those conversations can be really challenging because people have an all or nothing attitude, and I totally get it, but it's about longevity. So if you want to do this forever, you need to find a balance between the work, the play, the recovery. Yeah. And it can be hard.
It can certainly be hard.
Yeah.
I think it's when you bring the perspective of an overview of what your schedule looks like, and let's say there's going to be the 6th sprint of the week, and then you've come into sprint because you wanted to go hard and because you loved it. But by the time you get to, I don't know, maybe your 5th one, you're just not going hard anymore. You know, you're not actually loving it. You literally just did it
going through them. Totally.
Rather than for the main reason why you wanted to do it in the first place. And I think through routine, again, sometimes routine is good, and it gets to a point where sometimes routine is now the thing that is holding you back from your outcomes and your happiness.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I think sometimes it's letting go of ego, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because there is a little bit of ego sometimes, is that if you do more, people will be like so impressed perhaps by, wow, my work ethic is really huge. And let's be honest, I feel like over the last 2 years, it's probably something even I've learned is actually do less, but be smart about what you do. And I mean, even this week, I haven't trained as much, and I'm okay with that. Am I going to have a pie later? Well, actually, I've already had a pie. I had one for breakfast. True story. Somebody delivered one to me. But, it is balanced. Like, and all my clients actually know, and actually the members at Les Mills Hutt City, they know that I'll have a pie and I'll have a donut, but then I also eat well as well. So, I'm not going to pretend that, I'm perfect, because I'm not. They know that. Plenty of flaws. I make mistakes. And that's okay. It's called being a human. Yeah,
I think you were on your social media not too long ago. You made a post about what people see on the exterior versus what they see on the interior.
Totally.
And I think it's so valuable for people to be able to. This is a tough conversation, actually. I was going to say it's valuable for people to see both, but also at the same time, we don't owe that to them.
Yeah.
You don't.
Because, like you said, you obviously post a lot of your training. So, like you said, people might see your Instagram and think, "Oh, Kris lives at the gym. That's all she ever does is train." But like you said, you're not going to post a photo when you're chilling on the couch watching Netflix. You're not going to probably post when if you might be out for dinner and things like that. So you post what you enjoy, and it's.
But also like the intimate sides of I'm not going to post too much about our relationship. I don't owe that to anyone, And I understand that the audience might want real.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, as an audience member, even myself, for me, when I consume content, I always know that it is a highlight reel, regardless on how real I think that person is. It's still a highlight reel.
Yeah.
And for me, as a content creator myself, is got to have those boundaries as well, because
totally
I want to be real on social media for sure, but I don't owe anyone anything. How do you go about creating your content? Do you put much thought into it, or is it more just like, I'm documenting my workout, I'm just going to post it?
I for my Insta stories, it's usually just random stuff that I might share, usually for my coach actually. So that's just for feedback for me. So I do film all my stuff, and that probably looks like I'm probably obsessed with my training. But I actually do it for my own feedback as well. So for example, when there's days, and I think that's when I've shared stuff as in a post, is from the outside the pull-ups might look really easy, and it's like, oh yeah, Kris makes that look easy, blah, 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 or whatever. But actually inside, I might be struggling with something, and so I've maybe acknowledged that. So I do think about what I post. I think about, am I adding value if I post this? And if not, do I need to share it?
That's a great question to ask. Yeah,
because I think that's something, even as a PT, sometimes I'll share my clients' progress on a story. And then sometimes there'll be gaps where I don't, just to, because I might be sharing quite a lot or whatever. So yeah, I do think about that. And then I think, is this an important message? What is my message? And sometimes there might not be a message. It might be just a random post where I'll be like, I did that and I'm pretty happy with myself, and to acknowledge that you're proud of yourself. I think it's being okay to do that as well. I'm at a stage where I feel okay to go, actually I did that. I'm not bad for 50, I mean, I might go back to my age a bit, but the reality is I think it's important to acknowledge where you are. And I read something actually, is we're so in an environment or the world today, we're always thinking about the next thing instead of appreciating exactly where we are. And so now I try to appreciate what my body can do now, and the fact that I can teach. I won't be able to do this forever. I know that. So every class I teach, I think, oh man, that was, not always great, but you usually go away from it and go, yeah, I'm really pleased. I think that was a good class. Or I analyze, and I'll self-analyze, and I'll go, yep, that was good, or maybe that wasn't so good, or whatever. But I'm always grateful that I can do that, because I know I haven't got forever to jump and run like a 20-year-old. So make the most of it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
I think that was a beautiful place to end.
Yeah.
That was such a great message. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, you're so welcome.
For people who want to find more about you, where should they find you? Where should they go?
Probably just to a cafe and I'll be eating. Kris Madsen. Yeah, boom.
On Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us,
Epic.
Kris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you both.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.